Hello, Frog fans. Welcome into the Frogs Insider Postgame Show. Jamie Plunkett, Jeremy Clark is sitting right next to me. Guys, it's been a long day. Jamie Plunkett, Jeremy Clark, Stephen Johnson, Melissa Triebwasser are here to break down TCU's 42-36 win over the Baylor Bears in the Revivalry.
Yes.
No Blue Bonnet battle?
No Blue Bonnet battle. No, sir. Anyways, TCU moves to 5-2 on the season, 2-2 in conference play in a hectic, lightning-delayed, wild battle that we've come to expect when these two teams take the field together. We're going to start, though, this show. We're going to jump right in because I know we got a lot to talk about here, guys. The final 3 minutes of this football game. TCU is winning 42-21. Looks like TCU is going to really just kind of cruise to victory here. And then we have what Sonny Dykes described in postgame as 3 catastrophic plays, one by each aspect of this football team, the defense, the offense, and then the special teams, where TCU fumbles it. Baylor takes it for a scoop and score, a 95-yard touchdown drive by the Bears, and then a recovered onside kick by Baylor that gives Baylor an opportunity in the waning minutes to tie or even win this football game. Let's start there. Let's talk about those 3 plays specifically, and then also Sonny's kind of response to those 3 plays and the way he entered the media room afterwards. Jeremy, let's start with you.
I mean, those 3 plays, I hate these kind of games. Because it's 42-21. You think, oh, it's a great victory, and then you finish the game like that, and everyone thinks they consider it a loss. And I hate that feeling because I felt like TCU played really good up until those final 3 minutes. I didn't necessarily like Josh Hoover carrying the football late in the game like that. I would have just not ran a zone read, probably just handed off to the running backs and let your big guys like Barnes or Battle carry the football right there. It's not the reason why it was close like it was. I mean, Hoover just needs to take better control of the football. The defense was, me and Melissa were outside watching it from the stadium, and we were just like, man, they're just falling apart. Secondary was really falling apart. They shut down Robertson all the way up into the fourth quarter. He had 146 yards passing in that fourth quarter. He had less than 200 coming into the fourth quarter. So they did a great job at and the onside kick, I don't even know. Did y'all see who bobbled it? I couldn't see from where my vantage point was, but I hate the feeling because Sonny did come in fired up. I think he came in fired up because not necessarily the way they finished, but just there's a lot of people talking about his team right now, and I think it was on the verge of being, like he said, catastrophic. Those were catastrophic mistakes, but man, could you imagine if we're sitting here talking about them losing this game 43-42? It's very, very hard to win college football games. It's very hard. So I'm going to chalk this up to a nice win. I thought Baylor was a good football team, and I've rambled on here for about 3 minutes. I'm done, guys. See y'all later.
I want Melissa to go next because I feel like she's itching to jump in.
I don't know how I want to play this. I'm really frustrated. I think that the thing we've been begging from this TCU football program for is the ability to step on someone's neck. And today was a perfect opportunity in a rivalry game when you outplayed your opponent for 3.5 quarters unquestionably, and we're playing some of the best football we've seen since 2022, frankly, to have it unravel that way. And every excuse in the world exists. Multiple lightning delays. You start to bring your team out of the tunnel and get called right back in. It's a rivalry game. Baylor and TCU are very evenly matched football teams. If that had been the final score and it hadn't have gotten to that point the way it did, I don't think any TCU fans are necessarily unhappy. But to have your opponent right where you want them and to let them up off the mat at a 9 count, it's just really, really frustrating. And the way for Sonny to come in and I mean, I know we'll get into this a little bit, but to be defensive, right? And I don't know if that was directed at media, if that was directed at the fan base. I understand why he feels the way he does. I don't know if I agree with it, but I understand it. It's frustrating. There's still the same concerns we've had exist, but at the end of the day, TCU won a football game against their rival. As our friend Brandy pointed out, they now own the Blue Bonnet Shield or whatever that thing is. They own the saddle and they own the Iron Skillet. We've been begging for this team to win games against Texas FBS opponents. They've won 2 this year. That's what they need to do. How you get there, I think, how you got there today speaks to the concerns big picture. But at the end of the day, right now, that was a really, really important season-saving win for this program.
I think that was a very fair take.
I appreciate your
yeah.
support. I don't know if I trust your takes after your Dickie's barbecue thing,
we're
but
gonna
We're going to
get
get into that.
We're
That's
getting
on
into
the-
that.
that's on the
That's
show.
down the road here.
But I wonder if Sonny's response was basically kind of came in there, was kind of reiterated multiple times. TCU's 11-3 in the last 14 ball games, which is true. Except when we all kind of looked at the numbers, the list of wins isn't as impressive as you would want. So it's factually true. But you got to wonder if, with Franklin getting fired, I know at least on Twitter, I can only imagine on the board, there was a lot of, should TCU do the same thing? It's completely unreasonable. They shouldn't do it. But I wonder if some of that noise from the Franklin fiasco was kind of getting to Sonny, because we haven't really seen Sonny fired up like that. I really. I mean, like, at a press conference, like after a post game, after they won, even like after they beat Texas, I don't remember him coming in. That maybe the Michigan game, because he felt like there was a little disrespect, but Sonny reiterated 3 or 4 times. It was like, just so y'all know, we're the winningest program. So something leading up to the game, or maybe it was just the finish, man, because this is the type of ending to a game that's going to make you kind of question what you saw beforehand. Like, I think big picture wise, it does concern you, the fact that you had those 3 catastrophic mistakes almost back to back to back, and you let a game that should have been over, well ahead of time, kind of go to a 1-possession game. So a win is a win. You move to 5 until you stay alive in the Big 12 title race. But I do think how you get those results, whether it's a loss or whether you win, how you win, how you lose matter. And those 3 minutes, they're going to be concerning, and I think they should be for some of the fan base.
It's so crazy. If we're talking about if it was 36-36 at the end and TCU scores to win, it's like we're completely different. But since it was finished that it was, we're just kind of like,
Yeah, and I'm going to take Sonny's side here for a second, even though, Melissa, I think I'm with you, and I don't quite see eye to eye with the emotions that he was feeling after this game. And that is, yes, they are 11-3 in their last 14 football games, and that's a great record, right? And at the end of the day, he cannot control how good the teams on his schedule are. So the fact that they didn't play a ranked team last year at all, out of his control. All he can control is how his team shows up and how they play on Saturdays. Same thing with this season, they're 5-2. And in his eyes, in this league, that's pretty dang, that sets you up all right? 2-2 in league isn't great, but your 2 losses are on the road at Arizona State and at Kansas State. I think every TCU fan coming into the season chalked those 2 as L's.
I predicted it.
Right? And Steven's never been wrong. He's on record. But it goes back to this idea of, at the end of the day, they're racking up more wins than losses, and that should be the focal point. What I think Sonny was trying to get to in postgame today, and to that I can agree with. Right? You're trying to win football games. It's really hard to do, especially in a league that has as much parity as the Big 12. And he's done it more often than not since he's been the head coach at TCU. Like he said, TCU is the winningest program in the conference since he's been here. And that's an undeniable statistical fact and a statistical reality. And, Steven, like you said, the way you win matters. The way you close out games matters. The way you hold on to leads and dictate the game and are more physical than your opponent and are more excited to play. Things that we've heard Sonny talk about all 4 years he's been here. That also matters. And that's where TCU has been relatively inconsistent, is bringing that energy, being more physical, and executing when it really matters. So I see both sides of the pillow here. I think for today, I'm going to lean in Sonny's direction, just because that was a high energy environment until the rain kicked in, until the lightning delays kind of sent people scattering. And the fact that they did come away with a win, the fact that they stepped up in a moment, Nnamdi Obiezor came away with that interception, which was TCU's 4th forced turnover of the day, says that, hey, this is a relatively mature football team, and they can overcome some of these mistakes. Now, obviously, we want to see them make fewer of those mistakes. But the fact that they were able to overcome those mistakes, I think, is a signal of the maturity of this football club. And that's the end of the. No, that's good. But let's keep rolling here, because I understand the fans' frustrations with the way things have gone this year. You're sitting at 5-2, but you're 2-2 in league play. You're trying to get back to the Big 12 title game for the first time since 2022. You've got to start picking it up. One of those areas where we've hoped that this team would pick it up a little bit more is on the defensive side of the ball, especially in the secondary. And Jeremy, you mentioned it already. TCU was very good against this Baylor offense for the first, 57 minutes of the football game today.
Yeah,
like
exactly.
I said, they forced 4 turnovers. They held Sawyer to under 200 yards passing until that final 95-yard touchdown drive.
Mm-hmm.
And Caleb Elarms-Orr, 16 tackles, 3 interceptions, 3.3 rushing yards per carry for Baylor. Like, overall, it was a very good day for this defense.
Yeah, I mean, I'm taking away the bad things. I'm going to talk about the positive things for a few minutes. This was by far, in my opinion, the best offense they faced from the quarterback they faced. They had a good running back. They had really good receivers. We could argue that Trig, we talked about it in the press box during the game, he's one of the top 5 tight ends in the nation. And the way they just completely took him out of the game until that fourth quarter, he had, one catch going into the fourth quarter?
1 catch for 9 yards.
Off 9 targets, off 9. Just think about that for a second. They tried to throw the ball to him 9 times, and they completed 1 pass. So that was an excellent job. I think they showed some things coverage-wise that was really confusing Sawyer a little bit because, man, let's just be honest. He came into the game, the nation's top passer, 315.5 yards per game, and, man, they made him look very, very average. I felt like Devin Dill, he didn't end up being the most productive in the stat line, but, man, he seemed like he was in the backfield quite often in the first quarter. He had 4 quarterback hurries. The defensive line was playing very, very well. This team rushed for 257 yards against TCU last year in Waco. Think about that for a second, 257 yards. I don't know the total number of yards they gained today.
121.
121 off, 3 yards per carry.
Mm-hmm.
So you checked off the box. You got to stop a very good quarterback, box checked. Got to stop the run, box checked. The defense played exceptional, in my opinion. Like you said, the first 57 minutes, I don't think there's anything anyone can complain about. 4 takeaways. I mean, in my book, I know it's a test. You got to take the whole test. You can't do a driver's test and parallel park and do everything else, then pull into one-way traffic and have a head-on collision. You're not going to pass. But they did exceptional for those first 57 minutes of the game. Hats off to Andy Avalos and that defensive staff room, and to the players, man. They did a really good job executing today.
I'm going to be honest. Watching Sawyer Robertson, it made me realize I need to keep sticking with my first mind. Coming into the season, I thought he was a bit overrated. Saw what he was doing, so you got to respect it. But watching him today, TCU did a lot of things well, and I think TCU caused a lot of some of his inconsistencies. But some of the passes he was just missing. We're talking about just not even in the same stratosphere. Like I said, I think the coverage, the pressure of Devin Dill, Caleb Elarms-Orr impacted that. But honestly, I think Kevin Jennings might be better. I think Sam, I don't know if Levis as good throwing the ball, but just in terms of being an overall playmaker, I think Levis from Arizona State was a better quarterback than Sawyer Robertson. But even with all of that being said, this was still the most productive offense they faced. I think we were all, I guess Baylor still scored 36 points, but we were all expecting Baylor to kind of go.
Technically 29 because they got a
28
defensive touchdown.
2-point conversion. Anyways.
Well, we were expecting, yes. I think Baylor averaged 4.9 yards per play. I think we all probably expected them to average maybe closer to 6. We expected Sawyer Robertson to not complete way more than 48% of his passes. So we were expecting Baylor to have a big game. I think, like you guys said, the fact that TCU pretty much shut them down, even their first 2 scores in the first half, one was aided by defensive pass interference, and I think there was another penalty that kind of aided another one. So I think TCU overall, I do think this was the best performance they've had in the game, considering the opponent, considering the stakes, even the bad finish aside. I do think this is the best offensive performance they've had since North Carolina. You would just love to see if you could just made it 60 minutes instead of 57 minutes.
There were still some of the immaturity things that came up, the taunting penalty. Sonny called it ticky-tack, but to me it was pretty textbook. I mean, they're going to call that 99% of the time. But yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, I think this team was flying around. It'll be interesting to look back at the end of the season and be able to say how much did TCU impact how bad Sawyer played today versus how, like, where is he potentially maybe overrated. But I do think there was a lot of pressure. I think that the way that both deals played was a huge part of him needing to release the ball a little bit earlier than he wanted, not quite on balance, and not being nearly as accurate as we've seen him in other games. I mean, there were still guys running wide open and Sawyer could not get comfortable to make the throw. So credit the defensive front, the pressure, credit Caleb Elamzor, who had an incredible game, and who, honestly, like, my favorite part of the post-game press conference was him, because he was livid. That guy was not happy with the way that game ended, I think, and it was pretty obvious. He gave very short, unhelpful answers, but
he seemed very mad.
And that's how I want my best players to feel after finish. Like, yeah, they won, but they need to keep being hungry. But I think if they play that game for 60 minutes, they're going to win a lot of games. Like, that kind of effort can win them a lot of games. But they just have to step on the neck fully at the end of it. But yeah, I think there's a lot of positives to take from the performance overall, and they taking out Trig and keeping that rushing game corralled was a huge reason TCU was even in the position they were in with 6 minutes to go in the fourth quarter.
I think when we've been critical of this defense this season, a lot of that has been about their late down efficiency, their late down execution. They were one of the worst teams in the country when it comes to late down conversion percentage allowed. And today they held Baylor to 6 of 17 on third down, 2 of 4 on fourth down. Yes, there were a couple penalties on third and fourth down by the defense today, but overall I thought it was a very good day for TCU's defense in late down situations. And to me, that's a sign of maybe a step in the right direction, of taking those late downs more seriously, about setting yourself up better on first and second down as well to execute in those late down situations. And then, Melissa, you mentioned it, Devin Deal was a monster today. He was all over the field and in the backfield. He finished with just 2 tackles, but he had half a sack. He had 2 pass breakups at the line of scrimmage and 4 quarterback hurries. And for a brief moment, he was credited with that forced fumble before they switched that over and gave it to Paul Oyewale, who also recovered that fumble for the Horned Frogs. So good day from the defense, especially in late down situations. And like you said, yes, some of that was lack of execution on Baylor's part, but also TCU's front, I think, impacted some of that as well. Folks, if you are watching right now, whether that's on YouTube or on X or over at hornfrogblitz.com, go ahead and share this with a friend, like the video, do all of the things that influencers tell you to do with content on the internet.
This video will not be blacked out, unlike the end of the TCU game.
This video, yeah, if you were one of the ones relying exclusively on our Twitter accounts and Horned Frog Blitz for your game by game there in the last 3.5 minutes, maybe send a strongly worded letter to ESPN Plus or something like that. Let's keep on moving though. Let's shift to the other side of the football for a second here, because the offense. I'm going to say one good thing about the offense and one bad thing about the offense and let y'all riff on it. The one good thing, Kavorian Barnes had 25 carries today, 106 rushing yards, and 2 touchdowns. Trent Battle also had a 65-yard rushing touchdown today. TCU did what we've been asking them to do for the last couple of weeks, and that's, hey, lean on a team when you've got a lead. Lean on a team, establish the run. They did that incredibly well today. On the other side, this is the 3rd straight game for TCU's offense where they have not scored in the first quarter. So a little bit of a slow start these last 3 weeks for the Frogs offense. Jeremy, let's start with you. The good and the bad of this offense today.
I said one of the keys to this game was going to be running the football, and I'll be honest. I mean, I didn't see this coming. I did not see 196 yards on the ground for TCU. I felt like them having Kavorian last week was a good thing. I felt like he could have ran the ball more, but we can debate that just like we do Central Florida. The game still, even though it's a year ago, we'll still debate why they stopped running the football against Kansas State.
Right.
But I love the way they ran the football today. I felt like the offensive line did a great job creating lanes. I felt like overall they did a great job protecting Josh. I like that part. The part I didn't like, the penalties. There was a couple times, Kavorian had a good long run, and
on a third down.
Kavorian had that run, and Ben got called for the hold. And then even late in the game, and Colton Deary's my guy. I love the guy, but you can't have that personal foul penalty late in the game when they're trying to run the clock out. It put a third and short, not third and short, but third and reasonable situation into a third, and there's no way you're going to do it, because if you try to throw the ball, you're going to stop the clock, and it just gives Baylor more time. So I felt like that penalty hurt, but overall, I felt like the offensive line did what they were supposed to do. I love Trent Battle coming in, getting that long run. Bruno had a great block. Deary had a great block on that particular play. other than that, and just Jordan Dwyer stepping up.
Mm-hmm.
He was kind of absent after that. He had a great game against North Carolina, had a great game against Abilene Christian, and then was kind of quiet the last few weeks. But he had a breakout game today, and that was very sorely needed considering we didn't see Joseph Manjack a lot.
Yep.
And we didn't see Ed Small today. So McAllister and Dwyer had good games. The tight ends had good games, and that's things I liked most about this game.
McAllister and Dwyer finished with 21 combined targets on the day, and in reality, that's probably where it should be most weeks.
Yeah.
I don't think, and not only was Dwyer quiet, I would say he's even struggled a bit. He had that key turnover against Arizona State, had a couple drops, I think, the last couple of weeks. So I think it was really good to kind of see him break out and kind of resume that early season form that we saw. For me, kind of everything you guys said, I liked the balance that TCU was able to establish. 196 yards from the ground, 230 passes. And I know a lot of people, I think, outside of Fort Worth think TCU's more of this air raid, like slinging around, and they fully can't do that. Obviously, Josh has a lot of yards, but I think this is kind of closer to the way they want to play. Do they want to run as much 12 personnel as much as they did today? Maybe not necessarily, I think, but, the injuries to maybe Manjack and Ed Small probably played a role in it. But I just think the fact they were able to physically kind of dominate the line of scrimmage, especially adding those two tight ends to the mix, I think that was encouraging to see. The thing I still don't like, I still think sometimes TCU tries to get too cute too often, and sometimes they just do it with the wrong personnel. Like there was a direct snap to Chase Curtis early in the game. Chase got 3 yards, but why not do that to Kavorian Barnes like they did in the fourth quarter where he scored a touchdown? Or if you want to do it with the tight end, why not use your more nimble, your more agile tight end in DJ Rogers, who I think could actually do some damage there. There was another play where they had Major Everhart in the backfield, and it's like a fake jet sweep. Now, to be fair, Josh could have just scrambled and just picked that up. But at the same time, with the way you're running it, why not just do a simple handoff? So there's still times where I wonder, do they go too galaxy brain? Do they try to get too deep in their bag when they can just kind of lean on teams? But overall, I think this is a pretty strong offensive performance. I know Baylor's defense isn't great, but this is the type of performance you want to see from TCU. No turnovers from Hoover until the final play of the game. Balance on both sides. I think it's a really encouraging performance.
Yeah, Baylor's defense is terrible. I think we can say that objectively, and I don't think many Baylor fans would disagree with that. But I think, to your point, there were still some of that cuteness. But Kansas State, Colorado weren't great run defense coming into those games either, and TCU stopped running the ball. And today, the thing I'll give credit to Kendall Riles is when he had a light box or a balanced box, he kept running the ball. Yeah. And TCU had a lot of success, especially early on, running against that light box. And I think that sticking with the run, they struggled down the stretch when they needed to be able to run the ball. They couldn't do it. But I think also we've got to acknowledge, as Sonny talked about post-game, that Deary and KJ Bennett were both dealing with pretty significant. Yeah. They were playing through a lot. They were playing through some pretty painful injuries, and they gutted it out and stayed in the game for the most part. Bennett came in and out a little bit, but Deary, I don't think, missed a snap. So to be able to kind of gut that out and gut through that and have success on the ground was really important. And I agree, Jeremy. I think that Ed Small and Manjack not being out there forced them to force the ball into the hands of the two guys that should be getting the ball anyway. Mm-hmm. And then when you have the tight end step up and continue to play the way that they've been playing and to get Pimpton out there finally and get him involved, I think was pretty positive sign. So at the end of the day, I think more often than not, they took what the defense gave them and they were pretty successful. And then when they did force it, they forced it into the hands of the guys they should be forcing the ball to. Whether they wanted to or not didn't really matter. That's what was available to them. So I think Josh, you would say, up until that last fumble, played one of the most kind of cleanest, efficient games that we've seen him play. That's going to be a stain on his overall day. And I was Sonny's kind of called Josh out now in back-to-back weeks. Called him out about the pick six last week, and today, flat out said the quarterback was not supposed to keep the ball in that situation. And so it's a weird. We haven't really seen him do that much either, and I don't know how to feel about that in light of the other way that he handled the press conference. But I think it's right. I think Josh has got to know better not to keep that ball, and also why are you calling an option at that point during the game?
Yeah, I think that's completely fair. At this point, Josh is, I know this is his second full year starter, but he's been starting games now for 3 years. You can't have those type of mistakes, especially that's not a strong suit. Should you call an RPO read option? Absolutely not. But if I'm Josh, just use your IQ, man. Just hand it off. I know that's not my strength. I know if I get popped, I might fumble. So I think Sonny was it was a good sign that he called out Josh respectfully. And you want to continue to push and continue to make him develop, because I do think it was a question, especially after last week, had Josh hit a bit of a ceiling in terms of his development. So, but good bounce back game for him. You just no more zone reads at the end of the game.
I'm glad Melissa mentioned the Colorado and Kansas State game, because the last 2 weeks it's kind of like going into that game, both teams were giving up a lot of yards running the football. TCU wasn't successful running the football, and other areas where I've mentioned a few times where defenses just kind of find their groove when they play against TCU, especially stopping the run. They did not do that today.
Right.
Baylor gave up a lot of run. They gave up a lot of rushing yards coming into this game. TCU took advantage of it, and that's something I've wanted to see the entire season. So good job for them doing that.
Look, I'll add to that as well. I think Josh had a little bit of a bounce back game today outside of that one moment because of how well TCU was running the football. Right? It's part of that balanced offense concept. It's a part of taking some pressure off of your quarterback to make him feel maybe that he doesn't have to go and make a play every single down in order for you to win the football game. And so because of that, we saw a much more effective, much more efficient Josh Hoover. I thought he made 2 incredible throws in the red zone today. One on that RPO to DJ Rogers over the middle for the first touchdown, and then on a throw to Kamorian Pimpton, who got his first catch and touchdown as a Horned Frog today. And so when you allow a quarterback to breathe, you see a more efficient and effective quarterback, and I think we saw that today. To mention, by the way, those 2 tight end touchdowns, Pimpton became the 4th TCU tight end to catch a touchdown pass from Hoover this year, and the 9th overall Frog to catch a touchdown pass. There's a lot of versatility in that offensive room. There's a lot of versatility on that offensive side of the football, and so I think at times that can be a strength, but today, like you mentioned, Melissa, getting the ball to your 2 haymakers out on the outside was really important, and it was good to see that they got back to that today.
That play design on that DJ Rogers touchdown, like that's KB at his best.
Yeah,
it was and
Even
beautifully executed.
the one at KP, that was a good one too.
Those were both good, and then you had 2 hours to sit there and think about what you were going to do on 3rd and 3, and they go orbit motion, direct snap to Barnes for a 14-yard touchdown run. Like the ceiling for play calling with this offense is incredibly high. They've just got to stop some of the silliness. They got to stop. They got to take that screen out to the flat where Major is trying to block. They just got to burn that.
Major has to be the guy catching the screen.
And they did that. They went back to that, and they did that later in the game, and it gained a couple yards. But at some point, you just got to know your personnel a little bit.
Use one of the best receivers, the best blockers as a receiver in the Big 12. That McAllister is. Let him block on those wide receiver screen plays.
He blocked the hell out of Baylor today, too.
He did a great job.
Great
He's been consistently excellent in blocking this year, Eric McAllister has. One quick note as well, middle 8. TCU was plus 11 in the middle 8 today. That's the last 4 minutes of the second quarter, first 4 minutes of the third quarter, and I thought that was a really good thing to see. Obviously, middle 8s have less of an impact when you got 2 hours of lightning delays, but for TCU to get ahead 21-10 at halftime, and then come out in the third quarter and start with a touchdown and get out 28-10. That was a really good thing to see from the offense, especially after they started slow.
Yeah, a lot of ball games, both in real life and on NCAA 26. I won in that. I guess it's the middle 4 in the video game. But no, I always love those end of the game, end of half scenarios where you can get that touchdown and double up when you come out of half. So I think that was great to see TCU take advantage of that.
And it was really important too, Jeremy, because you leaned over to me in the middle of the game and said this. Baylor, after that touchdown, they ate up most of the third quarter.
Yeah. That was a huge thing, and Melissa was mad at me because she said I was being negative in the press box. But I really felt like once they jumped out to that 28-10 lead, I just loved the resilience from the offense today, just the way they were able to score. But it was kind of at that point where we started talking about how the defense is going to have to step up at that point, and they were playing great. And I wasn't making a knock on the defense because up to that point they were playing really good, but it just kind of seemed at that point that TCU is going to start. They're going to try to start running the ball even more. They're going to try to drain the clock down, and now it's going to keep TCU on the field to try to stop those big plays. And they did give up a long drive, but in the end, they just kept bouncing back. It was like taking a punch. They would respond. So this is really the first game we've seen where they kind of did that, take a punch and they respond, and it was good to see from this team, TCU, doing that against Baylor. And I'm going to keep saying it, guys, because it really grinds my gears, because I think Baylor's a good football team.
Sure.
I do. They were 4-2 coming into this game. They beat SMU, they've showed resiliency themselves, coming back, beating SMU at SMU in front of 200 fans, and then they came back. Let's see, they're messing with me, knocking my bottle. And then they came back against Kansas State,
also in front of 200 fans.
And also in front of 200 fans. But they're a resilient team, and I'll just keep saying it. They have very, very good skill players. I'm confident in this defense moving forward now because of the way they were able to limit those skill players from making big plays.
Well, you've been harping on complimentary football, and then when you were talking at that point in the game, you started talking about can the defense play complimentary football, and Sonny did say in the post game he thought that they played complimentary football, and until the final 3 minutes of the game, I think that this was the most complete game we've seen. These teams, that both sides of the ball step up around each other when the other one needed it most.
Absolutely.
I'm going to point out one thing because we did have a little bit of a running bet going on in the press box today. With 11 minutes and 39 seconds left in the third quarter, Kavorian Barnes had 16 carries. I set the over-under on how many carries he would have the remainder of the game at 7.5. Melissa and Jeremy, you both took the over, and he had 9 more carries the rest of the way. Just another signal that they didn't give up on the running game, that they continued to pound the rock even when it maybe wasn't as efficient late in the game as they wanted it to be. They didn't get away from it, and ultimately they came away with the win in part because of it. And so that was a really good thing to see from TCU's offense today. Let's talk a little bit about the lightning delay as we kind of wind the show down here a little bit. Not necessarily because of the lightning delays themselves, although we did experience 2 hours and 16 minutes of lightning delay today. Sonny Dykes mentioned it in the postgame that he thought the players showed a lot of maturity with the way they handled the lightning delay. He said they took an opportunity to go back and look at the tablets to make some adjustments, and he thought the team responded really well to that today. But one person who did not respond well to the lightning delay today was you, Stephen, specifically because of the confession you made in the midst of the lightning delay. We have been trying, folks who are watching this, all 294 of you, we've been trying to get Stephen to eat Texas barbecue for 4 years now. And as a devoted and loyal Memphian, it has been honorable of you to stand by your city and your state and their barbecued meats. But you made a confession to us today that your first foray into Texas barbecue was Dickey's barbecue.
And you DoorDashed
And you DoorDashed Dickey's barbecue.
I can explain both points.
So I would love for you to give an explanation on why this is the case.
So look, so y'all know DoorDash does these like deals, right? If you're like a Dash Pass member. So it was like, add like a Coke, you get like $10 off or something like that. So it was like a 2 meat plate for like $10. So I was like, I might as well. They had some very good fries. The meat itself was, it wasn't the best thing I had in the world. Wasn't the worst.
I feel like you wanted to pick something that you knew wouldn't potentially knock your feelings about Memphis barbecue down. Like, I think that you set Texas up to fail.
I'm going to defend Stephen here because
we've
had conversations about barbecue in the past, and as someone who has family in Memphis and has had his fair share of Memphis barbecue, they're wildly different, right? The focus on ribs and dry rub in Memphis is different than the focus on brisket and sauce in Texas.
And I told y'all, Memphis can't compete when it comes to brisket.
That's right.
At all. So there's this. I don't need to go to Hines or Panther City to know that Texas does better brisket than Memphis. But I'm a big dry rub fan. The ribs I've had here so far, I think Memphis got some very. It's not really a competition.
Pork ribs, I'll give you. Beef ribs, no shot.
We need to take you somewhere for beef ribs.
Yeah.
I'm down to try.
Here's the thing.
Here's the thing. And cheap, y'all.
It's like when I was your competitor in this space for 17 years. I was never going to beat Jeremy Clark covering football recruiting, right? I was going to have to focus on basketball and baseball. Memphis is never going to beat Texas when it comes to brisket, and Texas is never going to beat Memphis when it comes to ribs. But they each can elevate to the height of their industry in their own little verticals. And so we've got taking Stephen, in my opinion, to go get ribs is a lost cause. Yeah. It might be a delicious rib, and you could probably acknowledge that. But I think where we can make some real headway here is in the brisket department
and sides.
Size is gonna be tough for y'all as well too.
Hurtado and Goldies, I'll put them up against anything. Panther City.
Well, I'm just talking
Gaines.
mac and cheese. Y'all can't do mac and cheese like we do. Mac and cheese.
See, I disagree.
I
Disagree.
Well, do y'all like y'all mac and cheese with breadcrumbs and stuff like that?
No.
Okay, so we're at least on
I
the
mean,
same
my
page.
mom,
with
my
that.
lot of
mom,
cheese.
Jeannie Triebwasser does a great baked mac and cheese with breadcrumbs, but it's not barbecue side mac and cheese. It's different. It's different.
No.
I
See,
want
here's the
crunch
thing.
with the mac and cheese.
You don't need it. You need cheesiness. You need flow. No, I'm with you there. Yeah. No, I'm with you there. I'm with you there.
If anybody wants to host a show at their barbecue restaurant for Steven,
This is
No,
true.
Jeremy was supposed to we were supposed to go
We're
in the
going.
off season, but we never went. We were supposed to go on like a Sunday.
Okay,
Well, if you're a true football guy, there is no off season. But
that's neither here nor there.
Yeah.
TCU fans.
Preseason.
Hey,
All right.
listen, there's 296 of you guys watching right now. There is one of y'all, perhaps 50 of y'all, that have a tailgate at each one of these games.
This is true.
Make the best ribs you can have. Make some brisket. Invite this man over to your tailgate. Invite me too, because I love to eat.
I'd also like to go.
We could do a post game show just off.
Yeah.
The
We'll come to y'all's
Or
tailgate,
pregame show,
pregame,
pregame show.
do whatever. This is a challenge to you guys as TCU fans. Get this guy some barbecue. Don't make him go pay the outrageous costs that some of these places charge. Let him come taste the barbecue that's coming out of your pit, and let us convince him that Texas barbecue is better
It's
than
good. It's
Chris
expensive down
Allison,
here, though.
Chris
It is
Allison,
expensive.
we need you back. We need Chris
Chris,
Allison.
I know. Yeah, we know Chris is watching this right now.
Chris, if you're watching, we need you to make a reappearance. I know the kids are getting older and play sports. You need to bring it for one
Just
game.
send me to a spot where I don't have to pay $50 to get like 2 or 3 weeks.
Listen, I've even said I'll pay for it. Look, just to get you there. I'll pay for it just to, and now it's on record that I've said that, so I have to do it, I guess. All right, guys. TCU is 5-2. They're 2-2 in league play. They've got a game coming up this week. It's going to be tough. It's escaping me right now. I think it's at BYU. It's at West Virginia.
Why it's gonna be
Okay,
tough.
not going to
That's the
be.
answer why it's gonna be tough.
Just the environment itself will make it a difficult football game, even though West Virginia is not.
They
the
also
West
have
Virginia
200 fans though, so maybe not so tough.
No, don't say that. The fine people of Morgantown
them.
are
They are not
upstanding
showing up to
citizens.
We're not going to
They
say
lost 45-13 at UCL.
Okay, all right. Anyways, coming off of this win, is it possible for TCU to take momentum because of the final 3 minutes, or can you just look at this thing as an overall win, acknowledge that you've got a lot to work on, and say, hey, but we're back in the win column. Let's string a couple together here.
I suppose this is probably cheap, but I honestly would just wait till we see what happens on Saturday. Now, if you come out against West Virginia, who just lost by 30 to
32.
32,
UCF.
excuse me, to Central Florida, and you struggle, you get caught up in this ugly first half game, then I think it's fair to wonder, did they fully was there something more to that final 3 minutes? But for now, at least, I think you could just say, hey, it was a wacky game, rivalry game, 3 delays. I don't know how long the delays were. There was just something.
60 minutes.
Oh my gosh, that was almost. They were in the locker room waiting almost as long as they played on the field. So I think for now you can kind of just chalk that up to a wild college football Saturday, lighting delays, rivalry. We got to win. Let's get out of here and let's get another W next week against West Virginia. But if you get off to another slow start, or it's even a close game in the fourth quarter, I think it's going to mean that there was something a little bit more indicative of that final 3 minutes than just, we got up 21, took our foot off the gas, and things just kind of got away from us a little bit.
I think the final 3 minutes was an anomaly. I think it was so crazy, almost unbelievable the way things transpired. If you don't fumble there, just like Lawrence was talking to us on the way back up, you don't fumble there, you punt. I don't think Baylor goes on a wild scoring run like they did. Momentum is crazy. We've seen that. We were at Stephen, you weren't there, but we were at the Alamo Bowl. We saw how momentum takes up. Everyone has seen it, but you see just when you're physically there and you feel the momentum just creeping and changing, crazy things happen. But I really feel like I don't think we're going to see that last 3 minutes that we saw today against West Virginia. And I think we've seen the page kind of turn as far as things I didn't feel like they could do. They've been able to do 2 things: run the football today, get off the field on third downs. And they did both those things against a good football team. So I'm going to take that optimism. You always say I'm negative. I'm going to be very optimistic right now. That I feel like that 57 minutes was awesome football. The last 3 minutes was an anomaly to me. I don't think it's going to change the way TCU plays. I think this is going to set them up to have a lot of confidence moving down the rest of the schedule.
I mean, you got a chance to get bowl eligible on the road, and that West Virginia game is a huge one for this team when you look at what comes after it. November is an absolute grind, and so I don't think that this is going to shatter their confidence. I don't think there's going to be a hangover from the way this game ended. I think at the end of the day, you win. Like you said, there was a lot of mitigating factors as to what went wrong before everything went wrong. But at the end of the day, you got to win. You have a chance to get the bowl eligibility. What you cannot do is start looking ahead. You can't look at a team that just got its butt kicked by UCF and think, oh, this one's going to be easy by 32. And think that that's not going to be a problem. But it's going to be hard not to look ahead when you know you've got Iowa State, at BYU, at Houston, Cincinnati as your Final Four. So I think Saturday is significant. It's huge for this team, not just from a confidence building and momentum standpoint, but from making sure that you're where you need to be before you go into this. So you can, basically the TLDR is you cannot let the game end the way that today ended next week. You need, if you want that confidence and you want to be able to do the things you say you want to be able to do, you have to execute on Saturday in order to make sure you're playing the best football you can play before November.
Their Final Four games are a gauntlet now.
Yeah.
I mean, I think we knew it was going to be a little tricky with Iowa State and BYU, but those 4 games are now it's looking a little bit more brutal than I think any of us anticipated.
I fully agree with you. I didn't think Houston was going to get bowl eligible before TCU did this year.
Don't get them really fast.
All right. The one comment from the folks who are watching as we wrap up here, Jeffrey Foster says, speaking as a longtime TCU fan but current West Virginia student, West Virginia is terrible. Thank you, Jeffrey, for that.
Thanks, Jeffrey. Sorry, Jeffrey.
That's going to do it for this episode of the Frogs Insider Postgame show. I don't know, man.
A lot
Where
of
are you
moonshine.
from? You from?
I think I know him.
Oh.
I'm not gonna say where I think he's from on the internet when we're talking in front of 300 people, but I think I know Jeff. Anyways, Jeff, hope you're doing well. To all of you that are watching, thank you so much for tuning in. Leave a subscription on the YouTube channel. Check us out at Horned Frog Blitz. Check Steven out at Fort Worth Star Telegram. Follow all 4 of us on Twitter, and we will talk to you next time. Go Frogs.
Arizona State has the ball at the 1 with 30